Okay, we're gonna try this. I'm just gonna run through what we're gonna do for our notes. And so if you will write down what's on the board and anything that I am highlighting, that will help you. And then you should be able to do the homework. So our triangle sum theorem. You're gonna copy down that triangle. You're gonna make sure you know the interior angles are on the inside of the triangle, and all three angles will sum to 180. That means that they will add together to make 180. You also need to know an auxiliary line. It is a line drawn to aid in a proof. A line drawn to aid in a proof. We've got our triangle sum theorem, which means that all of the interior angles of a triangle will sum to 180. You're also going to, You're also going to want to know that auxiliary line. That's going to be the line drawn to aid in a proof or to help you make a proof. If you're looking at the picture of the triangle right there, it's going to be the dotted line. And they drew that dotted line, so now you can have those parallel lines. And if you remember, parallel lines can be cut by a transversal, and then you can tell that angles 5 and 3 would be alternate interior angles, which means they would be congruent, and angles 2 and 3 would be same side interior angles, which means that they would sum to 180. And you can do the same thing with the other transversal so that you can figure out which angles are congruent and which ones sum to 180. The exterior angle theorem. It means that the remote interior angles, those two interior angles on the side, when you add them together, they're going to equal the measure of the exterior angle. So that means that the remote interior angles, if each of those were 50 degrees, they're going to add together to give you the total for the exterior angle. And I'm hoping you decided that 50 plus 50 is 100. And make sure you're drawing your pictures of all your triangles too, because that's going to help you remember these theorems. Your isosceles triangle theorem says that if the two sides of the triangle are congruent, then the two opposite angles will also be congruent. So if the two sides are congruent and they tell you that one of the angles is 70, think about what angle B would be. Okay, you're right, it's also 70, because if two sides of a triangle are congruent, then the angles that are opposite of those sides will also be congruent. So when we look at this triangle of cheese, they give us 3 angles, and one of them we do not know the measure of. But we've got to decide which theorem was used to write this equation. So which theorem did we use? That's going to be the triangle sum theorem, or the one that states that the sum of the interior angles is 180 degrees. So as you can see, they just took each angle measurement and put it in the equation. All three are going to equal 180 degrees, and then they solved their equation. And I know a lot of you could think that, hey, I'm just going to add those two together and subtract from 180. So that is the elementary way to do it, but because we're in high school, I want you to write the equation algebraically and solve for x. That's going to help us out later when our problems get more complicated. Okay, so we've got to decide which theorem to use to find the value of the variable. And we're just going to zone in on the first one first. And which theorem do we use for that? You're right, it's the isosceles triangle theorem, and it states that if each side is congruent, if you have two congruent sides, then the angles opposite those sides will be congruent. Okay, so if the angles are congruent, then I can set up my equation where I add all three angles together are going to equal 180, and then I can just solve for x. If I'm looking at this triangle, which triangle theorem can we use? You're right, it's the exterior angle theorem, which states that the exterior angle is going to equal the sum of the interior angles. So the sum of the remote interior angles is going to equal the exterior angle. And now we can set up our equation. So I've got the two remote interior angles added together. The sum of the remote interior angles is going to equal the exterior angle. And then I solve for x to finish out my equation. And for classwork, we did these 6 problems on page 262. And then we also had a Wayground for homework. I hope y'all are having a great day and feeling better soon. Thanks, bye.